If you already sell on Amazon, you may have heard the dreading phrase, reduce your ACoS. When I started out back in 2017, I had no idea what ACoS meant. For me, it was just a percentage of something that showed up in my Amazon advertising dashboards. But that's not the case anymore. Now, when I look at ACoS, I look at a dozen different moving parts that affects its value. When I see it going up, I exactly understand what might have caused that change. When I see it going down, I can confidently deduce what change might have caused that as well. By the end of this video, I'm 100% confident that you would be able to build that site too. The one thing that you need to know about ACoS is that it is an indicator of your paid marketing's profitability. In this video, we are going to be looking at ACoS like it has never been looked at before. The technique that we are going to be using to understand ACoS is called the first principles technique. This is a common approach used by scientists and researchers to understand a concept at its core and work towards optimizing the results. This is exactly the technique that Elon Musk applied to reinvent the modern day electric car and space technology. Yes, we are going to be leveraging the technique used by Elon Musk to disrupt two whole industries in understanding ACoS. When you think from the first principles approach, the first thing that you need to do is set aside all of the common knowledge that you already have in your mind and start from the very beginning. The reason why we do that is so that we can start at the very core and understand the problems from inside out so that we can move towards optimizing the results of that concept or problem. So let's apply this technique to understand ACoS at its core so that we can build a sixth sense which will help us keep a check on ACoS confidently and forever. Alright, so before we start, I do want to tell you I've worked super hard in making this video. When I started to think about this video, my only goal was that I wanted to create a video about this topic so that you will never need to watch another video on the internet for the same topic. So basically, the topic that we are starting with today is ACoS. It is a very popular topic and a very hyped topic that people kind of have a lot of discussions about on a lot of different Facebook groups. So my goal with this video is to explain ACoS to you in a manner that has never been explained before, and so I think I kind of hit that mark. I'm obviously finishing this video and I'm just recording this bit at the very end, so I hope that I hit that mark. Do go ahead and watch this video. Let me know if this is powerful, let me know if this helped you, and do give me your feedbacks by the end of this video. So I hope I hit my mark. Let's see if you guys are on the same page with me with this video. Let's get started. Alright, so we all know ACoS stands for advertising cost of sales. Putting the definition of the abbreviation aside, what it basically means is that it is the amount of your margin that you're willing to pay to a platform, in this scenario Amazon, to acquire a particular sale. Let me repeat. It is the amount of margin that you would be paying out to acquire a particular sale. Let me explain. Alright, so imagine this line to represent your selling price. Your selling price can be $0 if you choose to sell your product for free, or it can be an arbitrary number. Let's say in this case it is $30. Now let's go ahead and slice this line so that we can understand visually how much are you going to be able to make. Let's say your profit margin on your product is about 50%, 50%, which basically means you can make up to $1.15 per unit if you get an organic sale. In other words, if a customer happens to discover your product on Amazon just by searching for it without clicking on ad, and they choose to go ahead and add your product to the cart and eventually make a purchase, you will make up to $15 on that particular sale. This is called the best case scenario. Now let me bring your attention to the left side of this line. These are the costs affiliated with your product. This could be your cost of goods sold, basically your landing cost of the product. It could be the FBA storage and shipping fee. It could be the referral fee that Amazon is going to charge you per sale. And it could be a fraction of your monthly subscription fee that you are going to be paying to Amazon. Those are your fixed costs. These are not going to change with every sale that you make. Of course, over time, you can figure out a way to reduce your cost of goods by optimizing your production process, using better shipping rates, and even improving your packaging. But for the sake of this example, let's assume that it is going to remain constant for every sale that you make. Now let's look at the other side of this line. This is where you will make or lose money. So hear me out closely. Let's say you start running ads on Amazon. which means you decided to pay a fee to advertise your products on Amazon. In case of Amazon, which is a pay per click platform, you will pay a fee to Amazon for each click that you get on your ad. When a customer clicks on your ad, they land on your product detail page and potentially end up buying the product. Let's say you get about 5 clicks for $5, $1 a click, to get 5 potential customers on your product listing. Let's assume one of those 5 potential customers finally purchases your product. Now, if you think about it, you have spent $5 to acquire that $130 sale, which means you've spent a portion of your selling price to acquire that sale. What do you think is the percentage value of that portion? It is $5 divided by $30, which is equal to 16.67 something. Let's round that off to 17%. Now, what this tells you is that you've spent 17% of your revenue to acquire that sale. This expense of 17% of your revenue, which is $30 in this case, is basically your advertising cost of sale. What it means is that you've given out 17% of your revenue to make that one sale happen. Obviously, you cannot predict that. This is a variable cost. Therefore, it's going to be taken out of your fat margin that you started with, which is $50. So your net margin or your takeaway profit from this order is going to be 100%, which is your entire revenue, minus 50%, which is your fixed cost, minus 17%, which is your cost to acquire this sale, which is going to be equal to 33%. So for this sale, which you've acquired through running an ad and getting those 5 clicks and getting those 5 customers to your listing and eventually making that one sale, is basically 33%, right? That is your takeaway profit. And your advertising cost of sale in this use case or scenario is 17%. I hope that made sense. So to obviously make money, you need to ensure that your advertising cost of sale is less than the available profit margin. In our example, the available profit margin is 50% per unit sold. So you need to ensure that your advertising cost of sale is always less than or equal to 50%. Let's take another scenario wherein you're still running ads, but this time you had to get about 15 clicks to get 15 people to your listing to make one sale. This means you've spent about $15 if the cost of per click is currently at $1, and which means that your net margin is going to be 0% because 15 by 30 is 50%, which is the advertising cost of sale, which you need to subtract from your profit margin, which is 50%, and therefore your takeaway profit is going to be $0. Let's take another scenario. In this case, let's say that you had to get 20 clicks to get that one sale, which means you've spent about $20 to get that one sale of $30. If you do the math here, 20 divided by 30, which is equal to 66.67 some percentage. And if you subtract that from 50%, you'll get a number which is minus 16.67%, which means that you've actually made a loss here in this scenario because you've spent more than what you could have spent on that order because your profit margin did not allow you to accommodate that advertising cost of sale. This is where you need to pay attention to your advertising cost of sale and probably reduce your cost per click, maybe improve your conversions to improve your advertising cost of sale and improve your profitability. I hope it all made sense. If not, please do go ahead and rewind back and watch this again. This is the fundamental when it comes to understanding ACoS. Now we will move forward towards understanding the different components that affect ACoS so that we can tame it and ensure that we are always keeping a check on our profitability and we can avoid losing money out of our pockets. Alright guys, so we already know the formula for ACoS. We know that it is the total amount of ad spend divided by the total amount of revenue generated via your ad spend, right? Alright, so that is where 99% of the people stop. That is exactly what 99% of the people remember, and that is exactly how 99% of the Amazon sellers understand ACoS. Okay, they know that this is a formula that represents ACoS and I just have to remember it, maybe look at it, maybe I will remember the relationship about the fact that ACoS needs to be below your profit margin. And that's where my information story ends, right? But we are not going to be stopping there. We are going to be taking a few steps further, not just one, not just two, but 4 steps ahead in this step, and break this down into 4 different parts. But before we do that, I want you to revisit a very simple mathematical relationship, and that's this: x equals numerator by denominator. What this means is that there's this value on the left side of the equal sign, which is x, right? And on the right side, it says that it is equal to a division of 2 numbers. The number at the top, or the number above the division line, is called numerator. The number below the division line is called the denominator. Now you'll be like, hey Rish, we know this, we do this almost daily. What are you telling, or what are you trying to tell us, right? So that is very important, why? Because what this tells you is that your x, the value of x, is directly proportional to the value of the numerator, right? That is an important bit. This is exactly what you need to remember when we break it down. So your value of x is directly proportional to the value of the numerator. What that means is that the bigger the value of the numerator, whatever is on the top, the bigger the value of x is going to be, right? So if your numerator expands in size or increases in value, your value of x will increase, right? And the opposite is valid when you are looking at the denominator. The denominator performs in the opposite way. The bigger the value of the denominator, the smaller the result of this division will be, and therefore the smaller the number of x will be, right? So your x, value of x, is directly proportional to the numerator, and it's inversely proportional, or you can say oppositely proportional, to the denominator, right? That's very important. That is exactly what you need to remember when you have to optimize ACoS. Alright, so now that you know that mathematical relationship and you've revisited that relationship, you know exactly that your ACoS will increase if your total ad spend increases, and your ACoS will decrease if your total revenue generated via ads increases, right? So let's just consider that as a fact and move forward. What we'll do next is we'll break this equation down into 4 different parts, like I just mentioned. So let's first break the numerator. The question that you need to ask yourself is, what basically is total ad spend? How do you come to the number that defines your total ad spend? Your total ad spend is equal to your number of clicks that you've received on a particular time frame times the average cost per click. For example, if you've received 100 clicks at an average CPC, or cost per click, of $1 per click, your total ad spend is going to be $100. So instead of writing that down directly as $100, you need to write it down in a bit more granular fashion. You need to write that down as 100 times $1 per click is equal to $100. So now you know what are the 2 different aspects that define your total ad spend. It is the number of clicks, and it is your average cost per click, right? So we know that. Hold that thought. Let's keep on moving forward. Now let's go ahead and break the denominator apart so that we can understand what do we really need to control, right? So your total revenue, what is that? Your total revenue is basically a multiplication of the number of units that you've sold, right? Or your number of orders times your selling price. Of course, I'm talking about that with an assumption. The assumption is the fact that most of your orders will only have 1 unit per order ordered by customers, right? So that is the assumption, and with that assumption in mind, we can replace the denominator, which is the total revenue, by your selling price times the number of orders, okay? Your selling price times the number of orders. So now what you see in front of you is the ACoS equation broken down into 4 different parts. So it's no more like total ad spend divided by total revenue, which is what you had in your memory. It is actually, going forward, you're going to be remembering this as your total number of clicks times the average cost per click divided by your selling price times the number of units ordered. All right, remember that. Hold that thought. Let's keep moving forward. So now this, where we have arrived right now, by breaking it down, is called thinking from the first principles. This is where the thinking begins. Now what you've done is that you've really looked at it inside out. You've looked at the formula inside out, and now you know what are the control factors, what are the parameters that you need to control to control the value of ACoS, right? And we are going to be evaluating all of these 4 parameters and understand whether we need to control them or not. Okay, so at the moment, all we know is that ACoS is directly proportional to the clicks times average CPC, and it will basically decrease in value if the value of the numerator decreases, and it is indirectly proportional to the selling price times units ordered, and it will basically decrease in value. ACoS will decrease in value if the value of the denominator increases, right? So we know all of those things. Now let's chat about all of these 4 parameters, A, B, C, D, for a quick second. Alright, so now that you have this formula in front of you, you need to ask yourself, what do I need to do next? How do I control my ACoS? Where do I act? Alright, so let's talk about the numerator. You see that it is a multiplication of 2 variables, and that's clicks times average CPC. Tell me, can you control the number of clicks that you get? Right? You cannot. You cannot accurately predict how many clicks will you get on a day. You can obviously do some trend analysis, but the number of clicks is basically something that the customers or the visitors on Amazon will decide. Okay, someday you will get 100 clicks, someday you will get like 80 clicks, someday you might just drop to 25 clicks, usually on Fridays, but that's not in your control. You cannot really control the number of clicks. You can control the budget of your campaigns, which will obviously indirectly control the number of clicks, because once your budget expires, and if you cannot spend more than that, your ads will stop running, and therefore you can control the clicks. So that way you can control the clicks, right? So I mean, I'm just trying to be super clear for the skeptics and people who would love to point the fingers at the fact that, hey, you can control clicks. So I know you can control clicks, but maybe you don't really want to think about that too much, right? All right, let's move to the next variable, which is your average cost per click. So can you control your cost per click or not? Yes, you can. You can always go inside your Seller Central account, into your PPC campaigns, and set the maximum cost per click that you're willing to pay against each keyword, right? So you can do that. Therefore, that is a variable that you can control. And what you know is, you know exactly what's your profit margin, you know exactly what's the dollar value of a profit margin. Then what you can do is you can estimate the number of clicks that you will get if your average CPC or your cost per click bid is at a certain level. For example, if you just continue with the example that we are using, we had a 50% margin with a $15 value. So if our cost per click is at $1, then we can only expect or budget to get like 15 clicks. If we get any more than 15 clicks, then we would be losing money, even if that is $1, right? So what you can do then, if you want more clicks for the $15 amount that you have in your profit pool or profit margin, you need to go ahead and reduce your cost per click bids, right? So this scenario really depends on what are you selling, how fat is your margin, because some people might be selling a product that's like in the thousands of dollars worth of price point range, and then in that scenario you can spend up to $5 a click, right? Because you would be able to justify that sort of click cost, because your profit margin in that scenario could be like 90-95%, and therefore it's not really going to affect you as much as it would affect somebody who is selling their product at about $25-30 price point, right? So keep an eye for cost per click. Do this simple thing. What I do is I understand exactly how much is the dollar value of my profit margin, and if I'm trying to bid on a certain keyword, I do this mental math where I just divide the profit margin by the cost per click. So if it's $1, I would divide 15 by $1, and that is equal to 15, which means that I can expect to get 15 clicks, for the budget that I've set, and I need to get 1 order per 15 click, and then I can just look at my historical data, or make a hypothetical assumption when I'm at least starting out, when I don't have much data to look at, that okay, can I get an order per 15 click? If yes, then it's good. If not, I might want to be bidding a bit lower. I could bid like 70 cents and maybe get like 23 clicks, and that would put me in a little bit more control, right? So that is how you play with the numerator. But But that's probably not the best thing to be doing. Like, what we want to be doing is we want to be spending more and more money. We just want to be spending it profitably, right? That is the ultimate goal. And this is why we need to mainly focus on our numerator. We need to mainly focus on generating more revenue per dollar amount spent, right? So I wanted to touch upon the numerator a little bit so that you understand that, okay, there are these control variables, you can control them, but the real meat of the deal and the real control variables are actually in the denominator. And that is why you need to pay attention to understanding how can you actually play with those control variables. Okay, so let's keep going. Alright guys, so let's move our attention to the denominator, and this is going to be super important, so please hear me out carefully and closely. Alright, so in the denominator what we have is your selling price times units ordered, right? So what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be actually changing the selling price to a different variable as well. Why are we doing that? Let me explain. So your selling price probably today is at $30, right? Some days it might be at $27.97, right? $27.99 because you might be running some discounts. Some days or in some orders you might be selling your product for $25 because you are running this $5 coupon, which some of the customers tend to click and attach to your order and therefore avail that discount. So you will have a fluctuating selling price. Not every customer is going to order your product at the same selling price. Understood? So if that is the case, you basically need to average your selling price, right? You need to use the average of your selling price. And assuming or considering the fact that most of your customers order just one unit, we are going to be replacing this value with your average order value. Okay, so we are going to be replacing your selling price over here with your average order value, which is the average of all the order values that you receive, right? We are definitely assuming the case that most of your customers are ordering just one unit. So your average order value will be somewhere close to your selling price. Okay, so that happens with most of us. Most of us who are selling on Amazon, we see that our average order value, which is a value that we often see in our business reports on Amazon, is usually equal to our selling price, right? That's because 90% of our customer base always just orders, one unit, unless some of you are like selling products which makes more sense to order in bulk. For example, protein category or edibles or any sorts of crockery stuff, things like that, right? So that's about the average order value. Alright guys, so let's talk about the units ordered for a quick second. The units ordered that you have over here is basically a whole number. Okay, it is the number of units that you've ordered. You cannot really change the value of that. So what we are going to be doing now is that we are going to be just leaving that as it is. We're not going to be transitioning that variable into any other variable, but we will come back to it and we will look at it from a deeper perspective, because there is something that definitely controls the value of the units ordered. Okay, the number of units ordered. Alright guys, so I just wanted to clarify something before we move forward in the video. I've been interchangeably using the keywords, or basically the terms, average order value, average selling price, number of units, and number of orders. Now, these are honestly very different terms. These mean very different things. But if you are just selling a product, one product, and if you are getting orders at a similar price point and most of your customers are just ordering one unit, in that case, these will basically be the same. Your average order value will be the same as your average selling price, because you're probably just selling one unit or one SKU at a particular price point. But if you are a seller who is selling like many different SKUs at many different price points, then your average order value and your average selling price are two separate things. So the thing that you need to be focusing on is your average order value. Okay, and the second thing that I must tell you is that your number of units and your number of orders can also be very different. Some of your orders will have multiple units, so they are definitely going to be different. But if in 99% of your orders people just order one unit, then those would turn out to be the same. So I just wanted to hop in real quick and clarify that, so that you guys understand what exactly is supposed to be in the denominator. What exactly is supposed to be in the denominator is your average order value times number of orders. Okay, that is something that you need to look at for the foreseeable future. Alright, so let's talk about your AOV for a quick second. Let's talk about how can we influence our average order value. How can we increase our average order value, right? So the first thing that you can do, which you can do right away after you watch this video, is to basically go ahead and increase your selling price if you can, right? So you might be selling a product for, let's say, like $20, but there would be listings in your marketplace or in your niche who are profitably selling the products for like $25, right? So that is the first thing that you might want to be testing. Sometimes when you increase your price, you will still be able to sell the same amount of product. You will still be able to move the same amount of product. But what you will notice is that your ACoS decreases. And that is happening because of this formula. That is happening because you are increasing the value of this variable, which in turn is actually inflating the value of your denominator, even though you're selling the same amount of units, and therefore your ACoS decreases. Now you know how did that happen, right? So now you have this variable that you can control. So the first thing that you can do is increase your selling price. Sometimes you can do immediately. Sometimes you would need to make some updates to your product, make it look better, make your listing look better, maybe add some more value to your actual product in the next production cycle, so that you can go ahead back to the market with fresh inventory and confidently raise your price because you have done something better. You've made some changes, you've iterated on your product, and now you can demand for that couple of extra dollars with confidence, right? So sometimes you just need to do that, and therefore don't be afraid to make some changes in the next production cycle so that you can increase the price of your product. The other thing, and this is I think a lot of people don't even think about this, the other thing that you can do is to get more units ordered per order, right? And that will affect your average order value and not the D variable, all right? How does that happen? Let's say your product costs $30, okay? One unit of your product costs $30. And presently, probably 99% of your customers are only purchasing one unit, right? They come to your product listing page, they add one unit to cart, and they check out. Therefore, your average order value is $30. But what you can do next is that you can motivate people and you can incline people towards ordering more units per order. Let's say some of the customers start to order more than one unit. Now they're ordering 2 units, and in exchange of that order, you're giving them a $10 discount, probably, right? But you're now making about $50. 30 plus 30 minus 10 is equal to 50. So you're making about $50 on those orders, right? Therefore, your average order value will be pushed higher. Your average order value in this scenario, depending on the percentage of people who buy more than one unit, would shift a little bit above 30. It might land somewhere around $40, right? But that is still a win. You have increased your average order value by motivating people to order more units per order, even though you are giving them discounts, right? So that's a smart strategy, correct? That is something that you can choose to do. There are many different ways to do that. One is that you can run some promotional offers. You can educate the people through your listing that, hey, if you order more than one unit, you'll get a deeper discount, right? So, you can do that. Something else that you can do is you can create bundles of your product. You can create physical bundles of your product wherein you are actually creating a new listing with a new SKU, and you are putting more than one units together if that makes sense to you, logistically and economically, and if also like there's a demand in the market, and you can sell that bundle together at a higher price point but at a discounted price point compared to 2 individual orders. Something else that you can definitely do is, and this is only going to work, to be honest, this is only going to work if you have brand registry and if you sell multiple SKUs in the marketplace which are like in the same category, okay? So something else that you can do is you can create something called a virtual bundle, okay? Virtual bundle is a new feature provided by Amazon where you can actually create like digital bundles of products by combining 2 different SKUs, okay? Only 2 different SKUs. Without really doing any physical work, right? So you can have an independent listing. It doesn't need to have its own UPC code or barcode. It will have its own ASIN ID, right? It will not have its own FNSKU code. So you can go ahead and create this independent digital listing by combining 2 different SKUs together, have its own imagery, have its own title, own bullet points, and its own price point. And what will happen is when a customer places an order on that virtual bundle, okay, what will happen is Amazon is going to be fulfilling that order as 2 independent orders, but This is an opportunity for you to give a better deal to the customer, right? You can combine two units which might individually cost the customer like $30, and when you combine them you can sell it for probably like $50 or $45, and that's a win for the customer, that's a win for you, because you're trying to now increase the average order value and therefore decrease your ACoS when you're running ads, right? Since I've discovered the feature, I've been using this, I've been testing this. I sell a product line wherein I have currently 5 live SKUs. So I've been combining these things together and trying to sell it. One of my bundles is actually priced somewhere around $100, and I've got 10 orders on that listing, and this is a virtual bundle. I haven't put a single effort in actually doing any physical work, right? I just created this digital listing. Of course, I made some custom imagery for that, I optimized the copy for that, I optimized the title for that, but it is completely digital. And so when a customer orders that on my account, Amazon fulfills like their order with 5 individual orders, and they send across all of the 5 different units that they've ordered, right? So that is how you can impact your average order value. That is how you can affect your average order value, increase it, and therefore decrease your value of ACoS. Alright guys, so we are finally at the very last bit. Let's spend the last couple of minutes in understanding how can we affect the number of units ordered. Now, before I start talking about that, I do want to tell you once again, actually I just want to remind you, because I think this video has been loaded with information, that I've worked super hard for this video. Right now it is almost like going to be midnight, and you might have already realized that I'm shooting this part of the video at the night, because I've been trying to complete this video for almost 10 days. I'm actually busy with my own business that I'm trying to run. So, it's been a difficult ride, but I really wanted to, make this video in a manner which really exudes quality and really, attacks the point and the mission that I had with this video. And that was that you would never need to watch another video. If you ever need to watch or refresh your memory about ACoS, this is the only video that you would need to watch, right? So I hope I'm trying to hit that mark. Okay, let me know in the comments, and let's move on to the final bit of it before we end the video with a lot of packed information, right? All right guys, so let's keep going. So the final bit that you need to look at and understand is your units ordered. Can you control that? The first question that should come into your mind is that, can you control it? Can you increase it? Can you even impact that number, right? The short answer is yes. Let me tell you how. What you can do is you need to really focus on something that's actually behind the number of units ordered, and that is conversion rate. Let me explain what that means. Okay, so let's say 100 people click on your ad. All right, 100 people click on your ad. They see your ad. Probably 1,000 people see your ad. 100 people click on them, and then you have now. What you have now is like you have 100 people on your product detail page. All right, of those 100 people, let's say currently 10 people go ahead and purchase your product. Okay, so 10 of those 100 people have purchased your product, which means your conversion rate currently is 10, the people who have purchased your product, divided by the number of people who had entered the store or visited your product detail page. So 10 by 100 times 100 to make it a percentage is equal to 10%. Okay, that is the current conversion rate that you have. You received 10 orders, okay, of the 100 visitors, and therefore your conversion rate is 10%. What do you need to do now? You need to know how can you increase your conversion rate. Okay, if you increase your conversion rate, the number of units ordered will increase. Let's say you do some stuff. For example, you can improve your listing images. You can maybe reduce your price as well, because that might be enticing in your niche for the customers. You can maybe improve your copy on your listing, maybe improve your A+ content. Either way, what you aim to do is you aim to improve your conversion rate. Okay, that is the control variable that you have actually behind the number of units ordered. Let's say you do these things. Let's say you do all of those things, and now suddenly you have a 25% conversion rate. What does that mean? That means when 100 people visit your product page, 25 people end up buying your product, and therefore you have 25 orders, and therefore you are able to control the number of units ordered as well, right? So that is what was the last mile of this video. You can do that. That increases your selling price. That increases your number of units ordered, which increases the multiplied value of the denominator, which therefore decreases the value of ACoS, because now what you're doing is that because you've increased your conversion rate, you're making more sales per dollar spent. So what you can do now is that you can actually spend more money on advertising, because now you're confident that, hey, my conversion rate is so good that I need to drive more people to my product detail page. And to do that, I need to spend more money on my ads. And that is what I was telling you in the beginning. You don't really want to be controlling the numerator. You want to be spending as much as possible. Of course, you want to keep your CPC in check, because that is something that really depends on the profit margin of the product. If your profit margin, for example, is $5, you cannot afford to pay a $5 CPC or even a dollar CPC in that case, right? But you really don't want to be controlling the amount of ad spend, right? You want to be increasing that. You just want to be increasing that profitably, okay? All right, guys, so this brings us to the end of this massive ACoS video. I hope you all learned a great deal. I hope you found value. Let's go ahead and quickly take a minute and summarize everything that we have covered in this video. The first thing that we learned in this video was what ACoS is actually. How is it something that we can make sense of instead of just remembering the formula? Then we went ahead and understood how does ACoS impact your profitability, when you make money, when you lose money, when you not make money, and just recover your costs, right? We looked at all of those three scenarios and we understood how does ACoS impact your profitability. Then we went ahead by using the first principles technique and we broke ACoS down into 4 control parameters, which you can now control one by one and optimize your ACoS. First, we looked at how does your CPC impact your ACoS, right? What do you need to do to get more clicks for the same amount of profit margin or markup that you have, so that you can aim to have a better ACoS, right? Then we went ahead and we understood how can we reduce ACoS by increasing our average order value. We went over different strategies and principles to increase our average order value. Some of them can be applied right away after you finish this video. Then we went ahead to understand how can we increase our number of orders, how can we improve our conversion rate, which will then improve our number of orders, which will then improve our revenue and therefore reduce the ACoS, right? So now by the end of this video, if you've watched every bit of it and if you have made some notes, I would love to see some screenshots and snaps of your notes. If you have, definitely drop them in the comments. But I'm pretty confident that you will be a lot more confident about understanding ACoS, about playing with your PPC data, about understanding what you need to really look for and improve, because now you know exactly the 4 different pieces that ACoS comprises of, so that you can go ahead and improve them one by one and therefore impact your ACoS and your profitability. Alright guys, so that was it for this video. I hope this video brought you all a lot of value. My goal with this video, like I said a couple of times in the past, was to make a video which will be your go-to video forever unless the information changes, which I don't think this will, because these are all fundamental information about running an e-commerce business. So I hope this video did some justice on that front. Let me know. I'm super pumped and stoked to understand how was the video from you guys. I'm looking forward to your comments and your feedbacks, and do let me know what would be the next thing that you would want me to cover. Do let me know if this style of content or this delivery of content was useful for you to understand that entire concept in depth. I'll look forward to your feedback. This is Rish signing off from Ecom Principles. Until next time, hopefully I'll be coming back with another video or concept next Friday. And yeah, that's the goal, guys. I hope you have a great month and look forward to your goals of July. All the best. Bye.